for Business Inclusion and Advancement Department. Jakara is not here today, so I'll be doing this today. Today we have the MWBE Community Advisory Committee meeting being held today on June 18th, 2024 at 4 p.m. I am going to go ahead and call the roll for the committee. Chair Moneycan.
Present.
Vice Chair Eric Hairston. Committee Member Cassandra Brunson. Committee Member Brittany Lowry. Committee Member Susan Morris. Committee Member Hoida Patton.
It's Wida Patton.
Wida Patton.
Present.
I'm very sorry.
No problem.
And Committee Member Odette Sanchez. Since there are not more than 4 committee members today, this will be an information only meeting. And I'll go ahead and hand this off to Zach.
All right, I will share screen.
Recording in progress.
Zach, it's a little muffled.
Can you hear me? Can you hear me now? Maybe a little better?
Yeah.
I can.
I can.
No, okay. You good? All right, perfect. All right, so for today we have the Coach Hayes statute-based construction of the Bowman Gray Stadium. ASJ Wilson Construction was the lowest bidder. As you all know, today we do have 3 presentations. So what we'll do is we'll go over the first one, have ASJ come on and then move on. So, all right, so we'll get started here. Just goal information. The established project goals were 7% M and 5% W. The submitted goals that they submitted was 0% M and 0% W. Here's an affidavit D. Didn't have any subcontractors, but they put on the affidavit D, so that's they put none. Yeah. All right, so for letter A, the representative of the company attend the pre-solicitation or pre-bid meeting scheduled by the city to inform WBE firms of contracting, subcontracting, and supply opportunities, and to review contractor requirements of complying with the program. They were in attendance. This is the pre-bid list from purchasing. They didn't provide one, but they were present. All right, for B, did your company advertise in general circulation, trade association, or minority-focused media concerning subcontracting opportunities? A contractor must advertise in all 3 mediums to receive full value for this item. They did not submit anything for this, so B was left. Okay. For letter C, did your company provide written notice to a reasonable number of specific MWBE firms that their interest in the contract is being solicited at least 10 days before bids are due? To allow MWBE firms time to participate, please provide a copy of the solicitations for quotes sent to at least 3 minority firms from the source list provided by the owner for each subcontract to be let under this contract. If 3 or more firms are shown on the source list, each solicitation shall include a specific description of the work to be subcontracted, location where bid documents can be reviewed, name of representative of the prime bidder to contact, and location, date, and time. So here was their solicitation. Bids were due on this project, they were actually given 5/29. They got 5/28 here, but it was 5/29. And they did submit it within those, 10 days in between. It was 5/17 when they submitted that. And this is what they submitted. So they had the scope of work here. That's pretty much all they had as far as that. And I talked about over here on this side what they offered. And it's just a list of, the different emails that they sent it to, who they were in communication with, subcontractor. And then they had plans and specs, which you can see here on the bottom. There was a copy of them. More of that email list here. More email list here. So for letter D, did you follow up initial solicitation of interest by contacting MWBE firms to determine with certainty whether the MWBE firms are interested? Please include telephone log of follow-up calls you made to confirm interest. So for this one, again, what they had or what they put here, I don't know, was just the list of who they reached out to as far as call date, email. As you can see over here to the right of that, they have the email date, they have the call date, and they have voicemail. So the initial all was an email, and then their follow-up looks to be like it was a call on the 28th of May. All right, for letter E, under your company, identify and select portions of the work to be performed by MWBE firms in order to increase the likelihood of MWBE participation, including where appropriate, breaking down contracts into economically feasible units to facilitate MWBE participation. Please provide a copy of documentation where this information was included. Again, they had their solicitation letter that they put. And this is what they used for that. All right, for F, explain how you provide interested MWBE firms with equal access to specifications, plans, and requirements of the contract. Again, they use their solicitation letter. They did have specs attached to it, but they have the scope of work right here: hauling, excavation, grading, concrete, and electrical. For letter G, how have you negotiated fairly with interested MWBE firms, not rejecting MWBE as unqualified without sound reasons based on a thorough investigation of their capabilities? Copy of documentation or response received from each firm responding to the solicitation must be submitted, along with subcontractor quote comparison form. For subcontracts where the minority firm is not the lowest bidder, please provide copies of quotes received from all firms submitting quotes for that particular subcontract. Please provide documentation detailing reasons for rejecting any MWBE firm's bid as qualified. There was no quote comparison form for this, so I didn't have any attachment for G. For letter H, what services were used for the city of Winston-Salem's MWBE office available minority community organizations, minority contractors groups, local, state, and federal minority business assistance offices, and other organizations that provide assistance in the recruitment and placement of MWBE firms. Please provide a copy of this documentation. Note a contractor must utilize at least 2 agencies to receive. There was no attachments for letter H. All right, for letter I, how did your company provide assistance to an otherwise qualified minority firms in need of equipment, loan capital, lines of credit, or joint pay agreements to secure loans, supplies, or letters of credit, including waiving credit that is ordinarily required? Did your company assist minority firms in obtaining the same unit pricing with the bidder suppliers in order to help minority firms in establishing credit? Please provide a copy of any documentation could be included in solicitation letter and or evidence of implementation from previous projects in the past 5 years, advising MWBE firms on what type of assistance was available. A contractor can receive 10 points for offering and 10 points for implementation. Here it was just where they put here in their solicitation letter, ASJ was the construction will assist interested MWBE subcontractors in obtaining necessary equipment, supplies, and materials by allowing the subcontractor to receive the same pricing as ASJ Wilson Construction. If the WBE subcontractor does not need the equipment, ASJ Wilson is willing to provide or rent the equipment at the subcontractor's expense. So this is what they had for their this letter was offered, but there was no implementation to go with it. For letter J.
Hey, Zach, I'm sorry to interrupt.
Good.
Can the host check the waiting room? I think Susan Morris is in there.
Okay. Yeah, let me submit it. I'm sorry.
Thanks.
It'd be, it's all right, so for letter J, how did your company provide assistance in obtaining required bonding or insurance or providing alternatives to bonding or insurance for subcontractors? Provide a copy of any documentation could be included in solicitation letter and or evidence of implementation from previous projects in the past 5 years, advising MWBE firms what type of assistance was available. Note a contractor can receive up to 10 points for offering, 15 points for implementation. There was no offer or implementation for letter J. For letter K, did your company negotiate a joint venture or partnership arrangement with minority firms to increase opportunities for minority participation when possible? Please provide a copy of any documentation could be included in solicitation letter advising MWBE firms what type of assistance was available for or outlining any other steps taken to fulfill this requirement. There was no offer or implementation for K. Okay. For L, did your company provide quick pay agreements and policies that enable minority contractors and suppliers to meet cash flow demands? What procedures were initiated to fulfill this requirement, and how were the MWBE firms informed of this assistance? Evidence of implementation from previous projects in the past 5 years can be submitted. Note, a contractor can receive up to 5 points for offering and 10 points for implementation. And no offer or implementation was submitted for L. Susan, I'm sorry that you were in the waiting room as far as letting you in, but we can go back through the slides if you want to see what they have submitted before we ask questions, if there's any. So for A, they weren't present at the pre-bid. So they were present for that. See. For B, it was did your company advertise in general circulation, trade association, or minority focused media concerning subcontracting opportunities? They did not have anything for this one. So nothing for B. For C, did your company provide written notice to a reasonable number of specific WBE firms that their interest in the contract is being solicited at least 10 days before bids are due, to allow WBE firms time to participate? Please provide a copy of solicitations for quotes sent to at least 3 minority firms from the source list provided. The owner of each subcontract to be met under this contract. They did submit their solicitation. It was within the 10 days. The bid date was actually 5/29, and they submitted this, sent this out 5/17.
Did it show that they submitted it to 3 firms?
Well, it showed that this is what they sent, and then here was just the list of the emails.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
All
so,
right, thank you.
yeah. For letter D, did you follow up initial solicitation of interest by contacting MWBE firm to determine with certainty whether MWBE firms were interested? For this one, they also used their solicitation where they had the emails listed here. They had their initial communication, which was May 17th, and then their call date was May 28th. Listed here on the side where they also listed their results of that call. But just more of that. For letter E, how did you company identify and select portions of the work to be performed by MWBE firms in order to increase the likelihood of MWBE participation? Please provide a copy of documentation. For this one, they used the solicitation letter, and here, scopes of work, they had that detail listed there, and they also had specs attached to it. And of course, we couldn't see, but they had a PDF file and a link that you could go to. For F, explain how you provide an interested MWBE firms with equal access to specifications, plans, and requirements of the contract. They used the solicitation letter for that, and they went over that for that attachment. For letter G, have you negotiated fairly with interested MWBE firms, not rejecting MWBE as will qualify without certain reasons? Based on a thorough investigation of their capabilities, they didn't have a supplemental document for this. What services were used for the city of Winston-Salem's MWBE office? Available minority community organizations, minority contractors groups, local, state, and federal, minority business assistance offices, and other organizations that provide assistance in the recruitment and placement of MWBE firms. There was no attachment from letter H. Letter I, how did your company provide assistance to otherwise qualified minority firms in need of equipment, loan capital, lines of credit, or joint pay agreements to secure loans, supplies, or letters of credit, including waiving credit that is ordinarily required? Did your company assist minority firms in obtaining the same unit pricing with the bidder suppliers in order to help minority firms in establishing credit? For I, what they had was a solicitation. They had their financial assistance policy, which mentioned I think you caught Jake, so we should be caught up for you, Susan. Was there any other questions or any other slides that we need to go back to before we allow ASJ to come in for questioning?
I don't have any, thank you.
No, I can watch the video.
Gotcha.
But one thing I did notice is on the sheet, I don't have the question for number 11, which is letter K. I know we haven't gotten to that next, but on the scoring sheet, it just has for number 11, it doesn't have the question.
Okay. I'll be sure to get that to you.
Thank you.
Yeah, I'll be sure to get that to you after the.
Thank you so much.
All right. Start share. Let's see. I'm not sure because there is there's a Joe Wilson here. And I was in contact with Cynthia from ASJ, so I guess we can see if Joe Wilson from ASJ, because I see that on the two contractors here. Let's see. Hey, Joe Wilson, can you hear me?
Yes,
Hey, are you with ASJ?
yes.
Okay. So the Citizens Advisory Committee has reviewed your good faith effort. If there's anything that you would like to add verbally to that, if they have any questions, we'll let you go first. If there's anything you want to add or say about your good faith effort, now would be the time for that.
I mean, that's, I don't know if it, I don't know anything I would like to add. I don't understand what you're
If you
asking.
just, yeah, if you wanted to say anything about your good faith efforts, like for any of the letters that you submitted.
Oh, yeah. We use system within Blue Book called BidScope to submit and send out all our invitations to bids to subcontractors. And we follow up with phone calls. We did not receive any bids back. And there's a few items on the good faith effort that are a challenge to accomplish if you don't get any responses back at all to negotiate or offer bonding. You know, bonding was required on this one. I don't think it was. But to even offer any of those items, negotiate if you don't have anyone to negotiate with. And one question I do have, just for clarification, item K, negotiating a joint venture. What does that look like? Has anyone ever done that?
Yes, it would be something that you offer in your solicitation, joint venture, partnership, along pretty much the project if they partnering with, you know, kind of any type of it's pretty much a partnership, a joint venture. I mean, wow, much more to explain the joint venture part, but it's pretty much a partnership on the project or on projects that you do as far as with subcontractors and things of that nature.
Right. So if a joint venture is offered, I don't understand how that could contribute to minority participation if we're counting subcontractor participation, because at that point, that minority partner would be a prime contract, part of the prime.
Ian, if you may want to answer that in a deeper way, or
The way I understand the question is, and please correct me if I'm wrong or misunderstanding, is that the question is if you enter a joint venture that anyone that you enter it with, even if they are an MWBE, would not count towards the MWBE goal because they are no longer a sub and they become a prime. Am I understanding your question
Yes.
correctly?
Yes, because if that's the case, we do actually self-perform a lot of the work that we do, especially on small projects like this, where we don't get a lot of subcontract interest because the scopes are so small. We self-perform a lot of that work. We can't count ourselves as a minority contractor, so how could we count a joint venture if a if it was just say it was a majority contractor and they joint ventured with us? How could that count? I know it counts some type of way when it's a CM at risk type project, but with a hard bid, we always thought that it was only subcontracting that was counted toward the goal.
Right. You raised a good point, Mr. Wilson, and I have no doubt that has come up before on project review, but I do not know how that has been handled. So you have given us some homework to take a look at that very issue.
And and G, of course. I understand how that would how we could accomplish G if there was a minority firm or a subcontractor that was interested in the project at all. If we did receive some response back from someone, we could accomplish G. But with not receiving any response back from any subcontractors, I mean, these items. I bring those up because those are large point items, and and my question is, have you guys experienced anybody on any previous bid that has been able to accomplish G and I? Is it I? Oh, G and K. I'm sorry.
Yes, we have. Even for G, they can always put that you didn't get any responses from any subcontractors, or you can always put in like the comments for the quote comparison form. You can put in if you got any responses at all, you can put whatever you got from them on that quote comparison form, just so it's not left blank. So it's something there that shows, because it's the good faith part, just so that the committee can see the good faith as far as each letter item. If you whatever you have, you submit that, even if it's a subcontractor that you're not going to go with. Any comments that they have, you can submit that for you.
Right. Okay. But other than that, we just went through our normal solicitation bids for projects.
Right. Any of the committee members have any questions?
Nothing from me, Zach.
Okay.
Oh, I'm sorry. Did anybody else have anything?
Well, no, but I was just curious. I know you specifically mentioned G and K.
Yes, ma'am.
But there were others where there were no attachments, like letter B. There was nothing that was attached. And I was just curious, is it the same thing that you didn't have responses back, and so that's why nothing was submitted?
I was in there. Focus. We do that. We send it out.
I'm gonna have to check with them.
Right. Right. Well, I'm not 100% sure if we emailed it out. I know that we normally send some of our solicitations to the Institute.
And letter H also had no attachment.
H, right. And I asked the person that does IMW, and they did not reach out to anyone from the city.
Okay, that was my only
All right.
question. Thank you.
Yes. We, I will say that, we are very, proactive with minority participation on our projects. We have achieved, a lot of minority participation on projects where other contractors have not been able to achieve it in areas like water treatment plant work and things like that. But I found out in the last couple years that we've been able to achieve that participation after we have been awarded the project. For instance, that water treatment plant project was, I think it was around $700,000, and we had less than 2% when it went to city council. Now we're over 60% participation on that project. We're on the City of Greensboro Minority Hub Advisory Committee, and we've done some projects for the City of Greensboro, swimming pool projects, parks and rec projects, where our participation has been low. But once we've received the project and continuing on with our good faith efforts when we're buying the projects and the scopes out, it's been we found out that it's been easier to bring subcontractors in and say, hey, we have this work, and sit down with them and show them and get a number from them, and they've been able to participate on the project. But initially, and we work as a subcontractor too, with a lot of the larger firms on bigger projects. We work as a sub, but and on those CM at risk projects, that's an advantage that those guys have. You know, the Sammons and Frank L. Blooms and all them, because they can work with minority contractors for a year, getting them prepared for the bid. Whereas when we're bidding a hard bid project, and when you have 10 or 15 bids going out a week, you don't have time to bring in every subcontractor and spend a lot of time is trying to put together pricing, because you don't have the project. You don't know if you're going to get it or not. But I will put that out there, that we have a lot of subcontractors that we work with that are minority, and we continue to increase our good faith efforts even after we get the project. That's one. And even this one, we have a couple of minority electricians that we work with on several. We're working on several projects right now. Matter of fact, that water treatment plant is one of those projects, and he didn't bid that one initially. We had to bring him on afterwards. He didn't bid the swimming pools initially. We had to bring him on afterwards and sit with him. He didn't bid this one initially, you know. But that's just what we've been seeing with so much work available, that a lot of subcontractors are picking and choosing exactly what they're going to look at, especially when they're smaller like this, you know, when the scopes of work is smaller, if you will.
All right, well, if there's nothing else, Mr. Wilson, we appreciate you getting on. What we'll do is, after the committee has scored, what we'll do is reach back out to you with all the results, and then we'll move forward from there.
I have one more quick question. If I'm not mistaken, this project was advertised through the city, and Tanger was also. Was Tanger advertised through the city, or is that county? The Tanger Wood Shelter replace. Well, their NWB paperwork for the Tanger project had a 50 points that need to be achieved instead of the 115. So I'm not sure if that one is county, or what the difference is with it, or is there a difference why one would have 50 and one would have 115?
Yeah, I'm unsure on the counties, what they have set for their goals, but I don't believe that was a city project.
Okay, so there's county. Okay.
Sure.
All right.
All right, you have a good one.
Right. Yes, sir. Thank you all so much.
No problem. All right. Moving on to Armin Construction. All right, so next we have the pre-construction good faith effort review for the Coach Hayes statute-based construction, Bowman Gray Stadium, Army Construction. They were the second lowest bidder. And so now we're gonna move forward with this one. Established goals for the project, 7% M, 5% W. Arm and submit 0% M and 0% W. Attachments are affidavit D, which they didn't have any monitoring firms listed there. Letter A, did a representative of your company attend the pre-solicitation or pre-bid meeting scheduled by the city to inform MWBE firms of contracting, subcontracting, and supply opportunities, and to review contractor requirements of complying with the program? Armin was in attendance for the pre-bid, as you can see here on the attachments. For letter B, did your company advertise in general circulation, trade association, or minority-focused media concerning subcontracting opportunities? A contractor must advertise on all three mediums to receive full value for this item. There was no attachment for letter B. For letter C, did your company provide written notice to a reasonable number of specific MWBE firms that their interest in the contract is being solicited at least 10 days before bids are due to allow MWBE firms time to participate? Please provide a copy of the solicitations for quotes sent to at least 3 minority firms from the source list provided by the owner for each subcontract to be let under this contract. If 3 or more firms are shown on the source list. So for this, they used their solicitation letter. It was sent out on May 17th, which was the 10 days before. And they had their item description here off to the right of what they had for this project. And then they had their email list here. Looks like they also had another attachment to go with it. And then the specs, they put their specs here as well. And plans, that is. All right, so for letter D, did you follow up initial solicitation of interest by contacting MWBE firms to determine with certainty whether the MWBE firms are interested? Please include telephone log of follow-up calls you made to confirm interest. What they did was pretty much like the follow-up email. They reached out here on 5/21, which was their follow-up. Their initial date of contact was 5/17. And there's more on their follow-up emails that they sent out. The dates 5/24, 5/28, and 5/22. All right, for letter E, how did your company identify and select portions of the work to be performed by MWBE firms in order to increase the likelihood of MWBE participation, including where appropriate breaking down contracts into economically feasible units to facilitate MWBE participation? Please provide a copy of documentation where this was included. They used their solicitation letter for this, and they had their item descriptions and quantities right here to the right for what's needed for this project. Again, they did have their plans that they had attached to it as well. On the previous slide, they had the specs and plans. So. For letter F, explain how you provided interested MWBE firms with equal access to specifications, plans, and requirements of the contract. Again, their solicitation letter, which they had all that there. For letter G, how have you negotiated fairly with interested MWBE firms, not rejecting MWBE as unqualified without sound reasons based on a thorough investigation of their capabilities? A copy of documentation or response received from each firm responding to this solicitation must be submitted along with subcontractor quote comparison form. For subcontracts where the minority firm is not the lowest bidder, please provide copies of quotes received from all firms submitting quotes for the particular subcontract. Please provide documentation detailing reasons for rejecting any MWBE firm's bid as unqualified. For this one, they had, again, they just used their solicitation and they had the firms here listed that they reached out to, and just their email. So this was an email log that they put with it. But yeah, that's what they use for this one. So for letter H, what services were used from the City of Winston-Salem's MWBE office? Available minority community organizations, minority contractors groups, local, state, and federal minority business assistance offices, and other organizations that provide assistance in the recruitment and placement of MWBE firms. Please provide a copy of this documentation. Note, a contractor must utilize at least 2 agencies to receive full value. There was no attachments for letter H. For letter I, how did your company provide assistance and otherwise qualified minority firms in need of equipment, loan capital, lines of credit, or joint pay agreements to secure loans, supplies, or letters of credit? Include waiving credit that is ordinarily required. Did your company assist minority firms in obtaining the same unit pricing of the bidder suppliers in order to help minority firms in establishing credit? Please provide a copy of any documentation could be included in solicitation letter and or evidence of implementation from previous projects in the past 5 years, advising MWBE firms what type of assistance was available. A contractor can receive up to 10 points for offering and 10 points for implementation. Here they use their solicitation letter, and that section highlighted Army Construction could provide assistance in getting the required bonding, loan capital, lines of credit, insurance, or joint pay agreements. Please contact us and we will review your needs and direct you to available agencies for assistance. So they did offer, but they did not have any implementation. So it was just the offer. For letter J, how did your company provide assistance in obtaining required bonding or insurance, or providing alternatives to bonding or insurance for subcontractors? Please provide a copy of any documentation could be included in solicitation letter and or evidence of implementation from previous projects in the past 5 years, advising MWBE firms what type of assistance was available. A contractor can receive up to 10 points for offering and 15 points for implementation. So they did offer, and they offer here in the highlighted section, and then off to the side here, they had another note where they offered. But there was no implementation for that one. Letter K, did your company negotiate a joint venture or partnership arrangement with minority firms to increase opportunities for minority participation when possible? Please provide a copy of any documentation could be included in a solicitation letter advising MWBE firms what type of assistance was available or outlining any other steps taken to fulfill this requirement. And here they highlighted Army Construction will look at the possibility of joint venture or partnership arrangement if appropriate. There wasn't there was an offer, but there was no implementation of it. For letter L, did your company provide quick pay agreements and policies to enable minority contractors and suppliers to meet cash flow demands? What procedures were initiated to fulfill this requirement? and how are the MWBE firms informed of this assistance? Evidence of implementation from previous projects in the past 5 years can be submitted. A contractor can receive up to 5 points for offering and 10 points for implementation. Here they did offer, and they do have their quick payment policy as you see there to the left. But they offer it and said we could also provide quick pay agreements in place that guarantees payments within 15 days of work being complete, or payments twice monthly on submission of qualified invoice and policy to enable minority contractors to meet cash flow demands. Again, they offered, but there was no implementation for the past 5 years for this one. And that's all for this one. Any slides I need to go back to the questions? Go ahead and let um, um, and good afternoon, Apartment Construction. Dr. Sherman's on the call, but we have just reviewed the good faith effort, and now the time if there's anything you would like to say about your good faith effort, or verbally add to it, now is the time we can do so. Hey, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay. Yeah, so the Citizen Advisory Committee has just reviewed your good faith effort. If there's anything that you would like to verbally add to it about any of the letters, you can do so at this time.
Okay, on the application, the first thing, in order to comply with the effort, we attend the registration meeting, and then we ask them to the minority office to get information about the minorities companies of in the area. After that, we proceed to send the invitation to bid to many subcontractors company. But we never received a feedback from any of them. So we just try to contact one of the electrical companies that works with us in order to get a quote to submit the bid. Another thing, and the invitation to bid we offering to the subcontractor. Um, we are willing to review and responsible review the all responsible works and negotiate them. We often also assist them with getting the required bonding, loan capital, line of credit, insurance, or joint pay agreements. Also, we offer them a quick pay agreement in order to get a quote to be in comply with all the requirements, the guidelines for the minority.
All right, thank you for that. Any committee members, do you have any questions you'd like to ask?
Well, the question that I have is, that I already have the answer is, we are a minority company, but we know for this project, we are not able to be part of a minority on this project. So we are very, very knowing about that. So we try to do the best in order to get the minority, we send the petition to them. We follow which person is able to send us the quote, but nobody sent us the quote. So I think we need a bit in the day and time. Right.
All right, thank you. Committee members, do you have anything that you want to ask Armin Construction?
Can you say again, Steve?
All right, but there's no other questions. We do thank you for getting on Armin Construction. What we will do is reach out to you once the Citizen Advisory Committee has scored the good faith effort, and we will be in contact with you on those results. Thank you for joining today, and have a great evening.
Okay, thank you so much.
Right. Moving on. Okay. Moving on to Brooks General Contractors. This is the pre-construction good faith effort for the Coach Hayes statute-based construction with Bowman-Gray Stadium project. All right, the established goals for this project were 7% M, 5% W. Brooks submitted 4.9% M and 9.4% W. The affidavit D they had firms listed here, which have been confirmed to be Hub certified. So they do have Hub certified firms listed on their affidavit D. For letter A, did a representative of the company attend the pre-solicitation or pre-bid meeting scheduled by the city to inform MWBE firms of contracting, subcontracting, and supply opportunities, and to review contractor requirements of complying with the program? For this, they were in attendance of the pre-bid meeting. As you can see listed here, they did provide the attachment, but I got it from purchasing, so they are and were in attendance for that. For letter B, did your company advertise in general circulation, trade association, or minority focused media concerning subcontracting opportunities? A contractor must advertise in all three mediums to receive full value for this item. For this, they did not offer, they did not do any advertising in any of these mediums that at least they didn't provide any supplemental information on board. So on letter C, did your company provide written notice to a reasonable number of specific MWBE firms that their interest in the contract is being solicited at least 10 days before bids are due to allow MWBE firms time to participate? Please provide a copy of the solicitations for quotes sent to at least 3 minority firms from the source list provided by the owner for each subcontract to be let under this contract, if 3 or more firms are shown on the source list. For letter C, they pretty much did their solicitation letter per trade. So for this one, this is their solicitation letter for concrete. They have the list of the subs that they reached out to. So, and then they'll have the information here. They have the date where they reached out, which was Sunday, May 19th, which they met that 10-day window. And here are the different solicitations per trade. The next one was electrical. The next one was survey. So they sent those to the individual contractors for those specific trades. Each one pretty much talks about the standard of what's on the solicitation letter, the lines of credit, loan capital, joint pay agreements, and things like that. On letter D, did you follow up initial solicitation of interest by contacting MWBE firms to determine with certainty whether the MWBE firms are interested? Please include telephone log or follow-up calls you have made to confirm interest. So what they did was, after these initial solicitation date, they did reach back out, as you can see here, Tuesday, May 28th. This was a bid reminder where they just reminded them of the bid the next day. If they were still interested or wanted to submit anything before bids were due. So they did do follow-up. On letter E, how did your company identify and select portions of the work to be performed by MWBE firms in order to increase the likelihood of MWBE participation, including where appropriate, breaking down contracts into economically feasible units to facilitate MWBE participation? Please provide a copy of documentation where this information was included. Here they use their solicitation letter where they had, again, they did it per trade. So each individual contractor per that trade knew what the work was for, whether it was concrete, electrical, or survey. For F, explain how you provided interested MWBE firms with equal access to specifications, plans, and requirements of the contract. So here again, they use the solicitation letter for that purpose. For G, how have you negotiated fairly with interested MWBE firms, not rejecting MWBE as unqualified without sound reasons, based on a thorough investigation of their capabilities? Copy of documentation or response received from each firm responding to the solicitation must be submitted along with subcontractor for comparison form. For subcontracts where the minority firm is not the lowest bidder, please provide copies of quotes received from all firms submitting quotes for that particular subcontract. Please provide documentation detailing reasons for rejecting any MWBE firm's bid as unqualified. All right, for G, this was their quote comparison form. So they did have this that they submitted. And then they also have, like off to the side, they have the individual quote that actually came from a subcontractor that they were reaching out to. And then they had another one here, Element Electric. And then they had another one here from PCM Construction. So they did receive quotes back. Another one here, they received back a proposal. All right, so for H, what services were used from the City of Winston-Salem's MWBE office, available minority community organizations, minority contractors groups, local, state, and federal, minority business assistance offices, and other organizations that provide assistance in the recruitment and placement of MWBE firms? Please provide a copy of this documentation. A contractor must utilize at least 2 agencies to receive full value. So for H, they did not submit any documents. So for letter I, how did your company provide assistance to otherwise qualified minority firms in need of equipment, loan capital, lines of credit, or joint pay agreements to secure loans, supplies, or letters of credit, including waiving credit that's ordinarily required? Did your company assist minority firms to obtain the same unit pricing with the bidder suppliers in order to help minority firms establish credit? Please provide a copy of any documentation could be included in solicitation letter and or evidence of implementation from previous projects in the past 5 years, advising MWBE firms what type of assistance was available. A contractor can receive within 10 points for offering and 10 points for implementation. So they did offer their solicitation letter. It reads, if you need assistance with obtaining bonding, loan capital, lines of credit, insurance, or joint pay agreements, please contact us and we will review your needs and direct you to available agencies for assistance. So they did offer, but there was no implementation there. For J, how did your company provide assistance in obtaining required bonding or insurance, or providing alternatives to bonding or insurance for subcontractors? Provide a copy of any documentation could be included in solicitation letter and or evidence of implementation from previous projects in the past 5 years, advising MWBE firms what type of assistance was available. Note, a contractor can receive up to 10 points for offering and 15 points for implementation. Again, they did offer here, as I read in the previous slide, in the same section in their solicitation letter. So they did offer, but there was no implementation for the past 5 years. All right, for letter K, did your company negotiate a joint venture or partnership arrangement with minority firms to increase opportunities for minority participation when possible? Please provide a copy of any documentation could be included in solicitation letter, advising MWBE firms what type of assistance was available or outlining any other steps taken to fulfill this requirement. It reads here in their solicitation, a joint venture or partnership agreement if appropriate. So they did offer that. Again, there was no implementation either for letter K. And for letter L, did your company provide quick pay agreements and policies to enable minority contractors and suppliers to meet cash flow demands? What procedures were initiated to fulfill this requirement, and how were the MWBE firms informed of this assistance? Evidence of implementation from previous projects in the past 5 years can be submitted. Note, a contractor can receive up to 5 points for offering and 10 points for implementation. And as far as L, they did offer Brookstone contractors will consider a quick pay agreement per policy. And then here, they do have a quick pay agreement policy that they have here for their company. So they added that as well. Any questions? Any slides I need to go back to?
No, thank you.
And looks like you're still connected to the audio. for that, I can give him a call. Hey, Brad, can you hear me? So unfortunately, it looks like we were unable to get Brad on. Try to reach out to him, but didn't get a response. So that pretty much wraps up our reviews for today. What we'll do is send out the recording to the members who weren't able to be present. And then for the ones who were, we should have the scoring leads for where you can score. And then we'll move forward with this project. All right. Was there any other questions or anything that anybody needs to add?
Can I ask something when we finish recording?
Recording stopped.
And for TV 13, we are done as well. All right, thank you.